So I'm reading through the scriptures, trying to do it for the whole year, but today is day 2. We're starting in Genesis chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their array. And on the 7th day, Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the 7th day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. These are the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh Elohim made earth and heavens. Now no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up. For Yahweh Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed the man out of the dust of the ground, and breathed into him his nostrils breath of lives. And the man became a living being. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with a tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 heads. And the name of the first is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and the Shoham stone? I don't know how to pronounce that word, sorry. Shoham stone, maybe. And the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one which goes through the east of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall certainly die. For Yahweh Elohim said, It is not good for man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock, and to all the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him as his counterpart. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. Isaiah chapter 2. The word that Yeshayahu the son of Amatz saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. And it came to be in the latter days that the mountain of the house of Yahweh is established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills. And all nations shall flow to it. And many people shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov, and let him teach us his ways, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge between the nations, and shall reprove many peoples. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither teach battle any more. O house of Yaakov, come and let us walk in the light of Yahweh. For you have forsaken your people, the house of Yaakov, because they have been filled from the east, and practice magic like the Philistines, and they are pleased with the children of foreigners. And their land is filled with silver and gold, and there is no end to their treasures. And their land is filled with horses, and there is no end to their chariots. And their land is filled with idols. They bowed themselves to the work of their own hands, to make what their own fingers have made, or to what their own fingers have made. And the lowly bows down, and the high is humbled, therefore you do not forgive them. Enter into the rock, and hide in the dust, because of the fear of Yahweh and the splendor of his excellency. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, the pride of men shall be bowed down, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. For Yahweh of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up, against all so that it is brought low, and against all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and against the oaks of Bashan, and against all the high mountains, and against all the hills that are lifted up, and against every lofty tower, and against every strong wall, and against all the ships of Tarshish, and against all the desirable craft. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the pride of men shall be brought low, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols completely pass away, and they shall go into the holes of their rocks, and into the caves of the earth, from dread of Yahweh and the splendor of his excellency, when he arises to shake the earth mightily. In that day man shall throw away his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made, each for himself to worship, to the moles and bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks, and into the crags of the rugged rocks, because of the fear of Yahweh and the splendor of his excellency, when he arises to shake the earth mightily. Cease for man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for in what is he to be reckoned upon? Okay, now the Psalms. Why do the nations rage, and the peoples meditate emptiness? And the sovereigns of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his Messiah, and say, let us tear apart their bonds, and throw away their ropes from us. He who is sitting in the heavens laughs, Yahweh mocks at them. Then he speaks to them in his wrath, and troubles them in his rage, saying, but I have set my sovereign on Zion, my set-apart mountain. I have inscribed for a law. Yahweh has said to me, you are my son, today I brought you forth. Ask of me, and I make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. Break them with a rod of iron, dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And now be wise, O sovereigns, be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the chosen, lest he be enraged, and you perish in the way. For soon his wrath is to be kindled. Blessed are all those taking refuge in him.
And Yahweh having been...
Okay, my daughter's going to read Matthew chapter 2, at least the first couple verses.
And Yeshua having been born in Bethlehem... Oh, wow.
Of Yehuda.
Of Yehuda. And in the days of
Herodes.
And
the sovereign.
The sovereign seeing...
Magi.
You can take it.
Okay, I'll start over. Sorry about that. And Yeshua, having been born in Bethlehem of Yehuda, in the days of Herodes the sovereign, see, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, who is he, or where is he, who has been born sovereign of the Yehudim? For we saw his star in the east, and have come to do reverence to him. And Herodes the sovereign, having heard, was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And having gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. And they said to him, in Bethlehem of Yehuda, for thus it has been written by the prophet,
I remember watching this.
but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Yehuda, you are by no means least among the rulers of Yehuda, for out of you shall come a ruler who shall shepherd my people Israel. Then Herodes, having called the Magi secretly, learned exactly from them what time the star appeared. And having sent them to Bethlehem, he said, go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring back word to me, so that I too might go and do reverence to him. And having heard the sovereign, they went. And see, the star which they had seen in the east went before them, until it came and stood over where the child was. And seeing the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And coming into the house, they saw the child with Miriam his mother, and fell down and did reverence to him, and opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream that they should not return to Herodes, they departed for their own country by another way. And when they had left, see, a messenger of Yahweh appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Mitzrayim, and remain there until I bring you word. For Herodes is about to seek the child to destroy him. And rising up, he took the child and his mother by night and departed from Mitzrayim, and remained there until the death of Herodes, to fill what what was spoken by Yahweh through the prophet, saying, "Out of Mitzrayim I have called my son." Then Herodes, having seen that he was fooled by the Magi, was greatly enraged, and he sent forth and slew all the male children in Bethlehem and in all its borders, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had exactly learned from the Magi. Then was filled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, "A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and weeping for great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted, because they were no more." And Herodes having died, see, a messenger of Yahweh appeared in a dream to Joseph in Mitzrayim, saying, "Arise, and take the child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for those seeking the life of the child are dead." And rising up, he took the child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But hearing that Archelaus was reigning over Yehuda instead of his father Herodes, he was afraid to go there. And having been warned in a dream, he departed to the parts of Galilee, and came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, thus to fill what was spoken by the prophets, "He shall be called a Nazarene."